All the languages that I speak, I mastered them on a certain level before I went to those countries.
올리브한 어떤 식으로 지금 적용되는 건가요?
저 죄송한데 저 러시아 사람이라 저 영어가 좀 어려워가지고.
国外的男生对中国的女生有什么样的刻板印象？对，我们在拍就是关于这个商店的一个视频。他就是觉得他不会找更漂亮的，或者更好的，或者性格更好的。
Я вообще начинал свой канал с интервью на китайском языке. Even if you're not limited by the borders of your own country, no matter where you go in the world, if you come to Korea, you will still be limited by the borders of your language abilities. If you speak only English, if it's the only language you speak, and if you travel all around the world, or at least you plan to travel all around the world and live in other countries, speaking only English will limit yourself. In Asia here, speaking English to Asian people is like eating a sandwich through a plastic bag. It's fake. It's pretty much fake because speaking, like Nelson Mandela said, if you speak to a man in the language that he understands, that goes to his brain. If you speak his language, that goes to his heart. So people who travel, if you're traveling all around the world, and people who are traveling all around the world and speaking only English, that will always limit them, right? So they will always be kind of a foreigner, a tourist, an outsider. Doesn't matter, even if you spend like 3 or 4 years in the country. If you ever have like a residence permit or long-term visa, you'll still be a foreigner, you'll still be a tourist, and you'll feel like that unless you start speaking a foreign language. Another thing is that many people think it's just a language, just a communication tool, because you're like, well, why should I learn a foreign language? AI will solve those problems for me. I'll just buy earphones and then I use them, and then the AI will translate everything for me. Well, if you want to speak like a robot, you can do that. If you, like I said, want to quote-unquote eat a sandwich through a plastic bag, you can do that. But I oftentimes say that learning a foreign language, mastering a foreign language is not just learning a communication tool, it's also mastering a culture. It's also mastering an understanding of the culture. So more and more people are traveling all around the world, but only the minority of those people will take time to distinguish themselves from others just like that. This is what I did basically. I grew up in a small Russian town called Vladivostok, which didn't even have, and doesn't even have up to this day, Starbucks, McDonald's, and like all major chains. Basically, it's like 600,000 people, which is relatively big in Russia, but basically it's a pretty small town. And when I went to huge cities like Shanghai, Tokyo, when I came to Seoul, I realized that speaking only English is really far from being enough for me to stay in those places, to stay in those big cities, to make people like me more, to connect with people on a deeper level. What are the main advantages? Of course, is improved cognitive abilities. People who speak multiple languages, they have better focus. They are better at switching between different tasks. It's a proven fact. Improved relationships and better quality of relationships is basically guaranteed. Because if you speak only English, let's say you go to a country, a Spanish-speaking country, or you come to Korea, or you go to Japan, well, you will only have a choice of people who you can make friends with or date, build relationships with. You only have a choice among people who only speak English. You'll never be able to choose, let's say you like some person, you find somebody attractive. Like as a guy, you might see an attractive girl in a cafe and you want to talk to them, but you cannot, you don't even know how to start a conversation. You don't understand the culture, you don't understand how to make it in a way that it's not too offensive or is not too weird. You don't understand the culture if you don't take time to learn a language. So you can speak English, of course, like as a communication tool, it will work. You can use your phone to translate certain things, but like I said, it's like not watching a movie by yourself, but like just listening to somebody telling you what the movie was about. Improve relationships, better quality of relationship partners, right? So choice in life. You have a choice who to date, where to live, who to talk to, who to make friends with, and so on and so forth. If you speak only English and you come to Korea, you go to Japan, you go to China, you will only have a choice. Let's say you do business in this country. Well, in China, guess what? You will always be dependent on somebody translating for you. You'll always be dependent on working with companies who only speak English, right? So, but if you speak Chinese, all of a sudden you get competitive advantage. If you speak only English when traveling all around the world, you'll always be an outsider. According to the survey from Internations from 2017, quite a while ago, but I guess that the same holds true to this day, more than half of all expats in relationships are in an intercultural one. Basically, most people living abroad, most of them who are in relationships, they are in relationships with a foreign partner, right? With the partner from another culture, another language background. Basically, like I say, if you speak only English, if you're dating somebody, if you want to date somebody from a foreign country, if you speak only English, it's completely another thing. It's very superficial, I would say. It's very superficial in comparison to speaking their language. You can express yourself and you have another, you add another range of expressions when learning a foreign language. You actually, in fact, become more attractive. Another study, a survey by Babbel found that 75% of people believe that speaking a foreign language makes someone more attractive. You saw tons of videos of me, people turning heads when I speak a foreign language. People are attracted to something new, to something exciting, and to something rare. If you learn a foreign language, if you become conversational in a foreign language, you'll distinguish yourself from other people. You'll distinguish yourself from competition everywhere, from competition in business world, in dating world, in personal relationships world. You will become an outlier, and it's impossible to fake. You can buy a Gucci bag, you can buy an expensive car, you can rent an expensive car, you can spend all your money on that, but you will never be able to buy the ability to speak a foreign language. People will not be turning their heads on you if you have an expensive watch, expensive bag. They might look once or twice. I bet you won't be able to shoot the videos that I shoot where people are completely shocked out of their minds when you speak a foreign language. So guess what? This kind of attention equals attraction. This kind of attention equals advantage in business world and attraction in dating world. So if you want to distinguish yourself from other people, I'm speaking from a perspective of a Russian guy from a small Russian town who came from nothing, learned English first, learned Chinese after that, learned Korean after that, and learned Japanese. I didn't have any advantage in learning those languages. I learned Chinese to the close to intermediate level before I went to China. I became close to fluent in Korean before I started living in Korea. I speak Japanese. I never lived in Japan. The longest time I spent there was like a week or 10 days. So basically, I don't have any, you could be like, oh, Victor, because you live here, you mastered the language after you went here. Well, actually the best strategy, if you're traveling, if you're planning to travel to another country, be like, I'm not living there, so I'll learn language once I'm there. Well, there is a common misconception people have. People think that living in a foreign country will automatically, just this fact will automatically make the language download itself into your brain. Most experts here in Korea, most experts in China actually can't speak Korean or Chinese. Did you know that most people living abroad, they actually can't speak the language of the country they're living in. Most foreigners, they can't speak the language of the country they're living in. This is crazy. This is ridiculous. Even people who study at universities, they study on English speaking programs. There are many foreigners studying here in Korea. They are studying on English speaking programs, only using English in universities. They can live here for like 5 years without even learning how to say basic sentences in Korean. So it's up to you. It's a proactive measure that you should take for yourself. It's an active thing that you should do to start learning the language. So one of my clients who already graduated from my Chinese program, his name is David. He went to China. First time he went to China, and he was able to speak Chinese on a level that actually he went to the city which is called Harbin. Nobody speaks English there. He was able to do all this paperwork to rent an apartment, get a SIM card, solve all the paperwork issues with police station. He was able to solve all those problems. He got placed in intermediate level group in Harbin Institute of Technology, and on top of that, after a speaking test, the teacher said that he speaks Chinese on a level better than some people who spent 1 year on a Chinese program in Harbin. Basically, this was his like first week. Right now, he just sends me messages, says that he speaks Chinese for like 5 or 6 hours a day. And he's never been to China. He learned Chinese before he took a proactive measure to learn Chinese before he went to China. If you want to be like him, consider applying to join my coaching program. Click the link somewhere down below. But the most important thing that I want to tell you is that don't use this excuse, oh, I'm not in this country yet, or I'm not traveling to this, I'm not living there yet. Once I live there, I'll learn the language. Once I'm there, I'll learn the language. The best strategy that I personally use, like I said, all the languages that I speak, I learned them on a certain level, I mastered them on a certain level before I went to those countries. People think I became fluent in those languages when living, of course, but I became conversational way before that. Like before I went to China, I could read like hundreds of characters. I could write hundreds of characters. I could understand a lot of things, pretty much everything. Before coming to Korea, I was close to fluent, and the only thing which was stopping me was just professional fluency in professional settings when working at a company. And I mastered that while being here, of course, but the same holds true. Like people think that, oh, somebody moves to a country and then they master the language because they're in the country. Well, actually in my case and in the case of most proactive people, the opposite holds true. You can move to that country, you can live in that country and build your life there because you speak the language, because you learn the language before going there. Mastering culture, mastering the understanding of those subtle sub-communications that people have within this culture. It's not just mastering the language. AI can translate the sentence, but AI will not translate the meaning. It will not translate the sub-communication. It will not explain to you what are the most important aspects of this culture, right? So AI has its limitations. Of course, it's improving and it will be able to explain many like cultural aspects. But again, like I said, it's like, do you want a tool to become your master, or do you want to become a master of the tool, right? So I myself, I'm using AI in many cases and on many occasions, but I'm a master of understanding, or master of the tool. I'm not the tool is not my master. I'm able to distinguish where it translates in a good way, when it translates in a bad way, what is the cultural subtlety here and there. So being an expert in terms of language acquisition, in terms of speaking the foreign language or multiple foreign languages, will actually make you the master of AI, and AI will help you much more than people who have no idea about the language and just use AI to translate sentences. Studies have shown that conversations in a person's native language tend to be more intimate and meaningful, which can positively impact relationships. The problem with current state of language learning is that there are so many infinite number of resources. There are so many apps like free resources, free ebooks, free courses and YouTube videos. There are so many things. And so people get lost. I myself, I was completely lost. I started with some cheap resources, free resources. I tried everything. Then I realized that the actual thing that worked for me was the structured program. The structured program with an actual teacher, an actual coach, a set of materials, series of textbooks, actual homework, feedback loops, and the system that brings people from A to B. So basically, I went through six full offline and online language courses. People are very delusional. Basically, years go by and most people don't even master the language that they're learning. And speaking of foreign language, I noticed in many comments under my videos, it's considered to be as a given advantage. So people always try to find excuses on why they couldn't learn the language. How does it convey? So for example, somebody watches my video and writes, oh, he must be born in that country, or he must be born in an international family. Your parents spent a lot of money on you. That's why you speak all those languages. Oh, that's you live in those countries, that's why you speak those languages, right? So people try to find all those reasons why they themselves don't have an advantage to learn a language, and somebody else for some reason just got ahead of them because they had some unfair advantage, right? But like I said it multiple times in every one of my videos, I didn't have any unfair advantage except for one. I had a passion. I had a passion, motivation, and a clear goal of where I want to be. What kind of person do I want to become? Some people just find those excuses not to learn, not to even start. Others will always stay on free, cheap resources, just unsystematic things, and they will be learning one foreign language for like 10 years. 10 years. I saw some people on YouTube speaking a foreign language on a really good level, but somebody asked them, how did you learn this language? You're so good at speaking this language. And then the person says, well, I was just translating every word in the dictionary, or I was just watching a lot of animes, and I was just using those resources to learn and immersing myself. And I'm like, well, you know what? Like, it's really good that the person speaks a foreign language, and it's a really huge achievement, but I don't want to spend 10 years on learning just one foreign language. For me, it's just completely crazy. I want to be speaking in a few months from now. I want to become fluent in a year or 2 years from now. This is how fast I want to learn. I don't want to limit myself by learning just one foreign language. Most people use this kind of advice of like free or cheap resources and they literally spend a lifetime on learning just one foreign language. And at best they can speak in like 10 years. Is it very motivating if I tell you, hey guys, you can reap all those benefits. 75% of people will think you're more attractive if you speak this language. Or you'll be able to connect with other people, with other cultures when speaking this language. But you'll be able to do that in 10 years. Is it very exciting if I tell you that? It's not exciting at all. You don't want to spend like 5 or 10 years on learning another language. Well, guess what? Most people are like that. Most people learning a foreign language, if they don't have any special advantage of like being born in an international family, they will actually spend crazy years, like lifetime on learning just one foreign language. Most people learn at best one foreign language, like I said. And so even if they're born in an international family and they speak some foreign language from childhood, many people actually lose this ability. Many people learn like French, Italian, like in Europe, French, Italian, all different languages. I have a friend who's from Denmark, and he learned all those different, like 3 different languages growing up, but he can't speak those languages because he didn't proceed learning them by himself. Many people who learn those languages in schools, they can't speak them unless they're actually proactive about learning them, proceeding to learn them, right? So all Russian people learn English in school, but most Russians cannot speak English. Why is that so? It's because it's a proactive measure. It's not something that you just absorb when growing up. It's not that you just taking lessons in the public school or a private school would be enough for you to speak a foreign language. It's far from that. So everybody, I think, even if you're already speaking like couple languages, you would benefit from learning the language of your dreams. And if you don't speak any other language except for English or English plus your native language, you would dramatically benefit if you learn a foreign language of the country that you're interested in and that you want to go to. Because if you don't do that, you'll be always an outsider. Because let's say you have a dating partner from another country and you kind of communicate with them, you understand each other in English, but then they take a call from somebody and start speaking their language and you just completely don't understand. Let's say they meet somebody on the street and they start speaking and talking, you meet their friends and they start speaking in their language and you're like sitting there as like an outsider, you don't understand anything that they're talking about. And so if you want to be an insider rather than as opposed to being an outsider, you need to learn the language. Plus with learning a language, the bonus, like I said, is a cultural understanding, and you'll be able to expand your personality, improve your brain. Basically, with every other language, you acquire a new personality. If you learn a foreign language, if you actually become conversational in it and fluent over the very short period of time, it will give you a huge confidence boost in your social abilities, in your abilities to learn and master other skills, and it will expand your personality. If you don't want to waste years on learning just one foreign language, if you want the fastest track to success in learning foreign languages, if you want to apply my system, you can apply to join my coaching program. I help people from all around the world. In fact, people from 44 countries went through my paid courses, and I personally worked with people from all around the world to help them master different languages, not only Chinese, Korean, but also Japanese, Russian, Spanish, languages that they don't even speak. I help them to learn those languages because the systems are the same. And if you want to learn Chinese and Korean, I will personally teach you and guide you step by step to master those languages in the shortest period of time possible. So you can apply, click the link down below. I personally work with people. It's not some video course, it's a coaching program. So it's only for people who are actually serious about learning. Click the link down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you watched till the end, it means that you're in top 1% of people.